My name is Ian. I work at Convex, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the agent component, which I've made on top of Convex, as well as kind of how I think about agents and agentic things now that I've done a couple related things. The agent component lets you write code on Convex. Convex is like a reactive backend for those who don't. Who here knows what Convex is? That way no one has to out themselves for not knowing. Okay, cool. So Convex reactive backend, you write TypeScript, you define your schema, your functions. It has like hooks on the front end, so anytime your data changes, it like propagates the data through. Has a bunch of cool features, background, schedule functions, crons, file storage. So it's like this whole backend thing. And then I build abstractions, components, libraries on top of it to make it easier to use. And this is one of them. So this lets you write code where you define an agent with instructions using certain models, and it will kind of like allow you to just kind of pick up where you left off on threads and just like send new messages, and it'll kind of manage all the message history. It has support for like text search, vector search, hybrid search to like, do RAG and things like that. And yeah, it's out there. What else I want to talk about? Yeah, it's kind of like, if you think about it as like a full stack AI SDK. So it uses the AI SDK under the hood, but it manages the storage and threads and all that stuff for you, which you can still access and join with your own tables and things like that. It's one of many components, and I've used the word components. So like, what does that kind of mean? Components in Convex is like microservices that have their own data, their own functional API, but like live inside of your Convex backend. So you have like, you can commit transactions that both commit in the component and outside within the same, mutation boundary. And there's some other nifty things about them. It makes it easy to kind of like drop in features like this. So workflow is another one that I want to talk about. So who am I? I work here and I like it. I write articles. I work with users. Used to do like infra stuff at Dropbox. Worked for this company Bump, which was like the app where you could bump your phones together, like 2010. Yeah. Yeah. And did some freelancing, some full stack stuff. So the agent component in part came from, I was doing a master integration and was like, oh, well, that was designed to run on like a single node server that can run long running. And Convex is like serverless and has all these primitives around scheduling and orchestration. And so I was like, okay, I'll take the guts of it and then take their whole, DSL for like what should run when, and like turn it in, use our scheduler and kind of like rebuild the whole map of like how to do the agentic workflow. And I was like, all right, now that I've kind of done this, I don't actually like it. So I decided to kind of pivot a little bit and like build my own thing with what I'd kind of learned along the way. So let's see, where am I? Okay, great. This is just a big old Excalibur. It's my new favorite way of doing this sort of stuff. So what is agentic stuff? May seem like an easy question. Like, what are some of the things that agents do? They browse the web. They call tools, right? They have their own identities. There's different models. They're different whatever. But I'd say, yeah, MCP. Yeah, they have like all sorts of these capabilities available to them. I would say that it's like only really two things if you like boil it down. Like there's all these different architectures and workflows and all these things, but it's really only two things. It's like prompting and routing. So it's like, what do you send to the LLM? And then when it comes back, what do you do next, right? And that could be tool calls, which is like prompt route back, or it could be like go off and then do some other code or some other like structured thing and go to a different LLM that's also just prompting. So prompting, it's like that includes the system prompt, user stuff. It includes context from text search, vector search, whatever you want to put in there, right? Like MCP stuff and message history, which is really common. So that's why in the agent component, it like makes it easy to kind of hand off these threads. By default, it will just kind of use all the message history, and you can configure how much it pulls in. So, wow, that's blurry. That's not very good at all. Looks better on here. But let's say you have a couple agents. You can kind of create a thread, ask one agent something. It'll store the kind of send messages and responses. You can add extra context if you want that won't get saved. And then you can continue to the thread later with a different agent, kind of pick up where it left off. And it just makes it like ergonomic to build these things that you probably, you could have done, but it's just like more convenient. So the second part is routing. So like, here's the pitch. Everyone kind of is like, okay, yeah, cool, got it. But like, my pitch is that routing is like essentially code at every boundary. And so while we like to think about like AI or LLMs like driving all the time and like just cooking, like the thing is that the most expressive, most like constrained, structured way of like writing reliable applications that you're going to be accountable for is going to be like structured within code at every boundary, right? Like even a tool call, you might call some code that's like, is this actually acceptable? Does this meet like the specification? Or you might be like, actually, I'm gonna take this in. Okay, I'm gonna call this function versus this function. I'm gonna like, so code ends up being like king in my mind. And why is that important? It's like, I think there's a dearth of products and like tools out there that like try to pull you away from code in order to like use AI things. It's like, and I don't want to like, trash them. It's like, I think there's a time and place for all of these things, but like visual builders and things where it's like all hidden behind like many layers of abstraction. And the more that you can actually get in touch with the routing layer, the more powerful your apps will be. So like in particular, I think one that's underappreciated is like the code, then using vector search back to code. So like what that could look like is you call an LLM, it decides what to do next, or you don't even start there. Like you take a user prompt and you do vector search to decide which model to use, right? You compare their prompt against a bunch of sample prompts that are like which models are good at each one, and you find the nearest neighbor and you're like, okay, cool. Oh, this is this sort of prompt. I'm going to use this model. Or, hey, this is this sort of support request. I'm going to send them down this path. And I think that that is like so much cheaper, faster, and like in some ways more predictable than like asking an LLM, like, please give me a JSON object that tells me what to do next. Like, so that's, a soapbox that I don't need to be on. But vector search, yeah, think about using vector search in your like routing layer. Let's see. So what does that look like for the component? So this is the workflow component that is you can use alongside the agent component. So my mind, I was like, try to break apart all of the independent things and try to disentangle it so you have access to as many like low-level primitives as possible instead of like building in a workflow engine. It's like use the workflow that composes agentic behaviors. The cool thing about workflows, and I'm going to just zoom in on this to try to get it, is this just looks like regular code. You do one thing, you do the next thing, you do the next thing. And that's great, but sometimes these like agentic workflows can run for minutes, right? Hours. And if the server fails halfway, like what happens? How do you recover? How do you resume state? This is actually what's called like a durable function. Is anyone familiar with durable functions? Cool. So durable functions, these kind of magical functions that you start running and then the server crashes halfway, comes back up, and it starts running from exactly where it left off, kind of transparently, right? And in order to do that, you have to basically run it inside of a more constrained environment where you decide what are my independent steps that I can run, and like each one. And so, here I'm creating a thread, and then once that's done, it'll never call that step again. Then it's like, okay, generate the forecast with retries, right? And it'll be off in the back, like retrying, servers fail, it'll come back. Eventually it comes back and it's going to pick up right where it left off by doing some magical journaling to kind of like fast forward each time that it's invoked. So you can build things that like run for, this thing could like wait for 2 seconds before executing, and it's not waiting in this thread, right? It's like, it's left execution and 2 seconds later something happens. So you could wait for like 2 days, right? And this thing, you could wait for a year, and then the function just picks up a year later. It's actually kind of like cool primitive. So workflow and like durable functions, I think are like really cool tools to like integrate with agents. So hopefully like I've made a little bit of the pitch for it, but I'm trying to make it easy so that the agent component can be used as like steps in these workflows. Cause like, I know this is a bit of like heresy, but you can kind of model LLM calls as idempotent, which is like not true, right? But like because you have an input and an output and there's no side effects, you can run it multiple times. And the thesis is that like any of those generations is acceptable to your program because like you would have gotten one of them randomly. So it's okay to retry individual steps, but you don't want to retry any steps that it's writing to the database, kicking off like an external thing. And so as long as you can decompose your use case into individual steps that can be retried and ones that can't, then you can safely do retries and resumption while kind of like having the exactly once guarantees for database calls, which this provides. Cool. So I know I'm kind of like jumping through it, but another thing that I built for this is like, okay, once you have your agentic stuff, like you actually kind of want to debug it. Like you're often spending a lot more time like talking to the agent than yourself than you are like writing the code for it. You're like, okay, why did it do that? Oh, like let me look at the logs. Oh, I need to log that too. So I've like built this playground UI where you can list all the users, look at their threads. Usually it's just your test users, and then you like look at the thread. You can click in and see all the tool calling, all the like things. You can iterate on the system prompt. You can like play around with passing in different context storage options to see like what generates the best results. These are all like options that are just available to the agent calls. And then you can also like dig into the details and like look at what was the usage data. This is all the like information that you're getting from the component anyways, but it's just like surfaced a little nicer. And you can do some searches like, hey, what would it look like if, I searched with vector search or text search? What would the like context that it was trying to build off of look like? And so you can do that for any one of these messages. And anyways, I think it's pretty nifty. I'll actually do a quick demo if I got a little time. Let's see. So this is the agent component. It's open source. There's a lot of cool issues that people are like voting on, and it's pretty hip. So let's say we've got this app. Pretty simple. You have like, you ask a location. It's like Joshua Tree, and it's like, okay, cool. Here's what you should do. And you're like, oh, like that's nifty. I can ask a follow-up question, but you're like, oh man, we're like, I kind of want to dig into it, right? So like, oh, okay, well, here's the thread. Here's the like tool calls. It was Joshua Tree. It finds the latitude, longitude, weather. It finds the like, the various things. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then this one, you can see like what was its context when it was like using this. And this is like, a toy example, but like, I think it just kind of shows a little bit about like how some of these things can like become really powerful once you have some of it integrated, right? And you can decide like which agent to talk to, and you can kind of be in that iteration loop, which is like an important part of building apps beyond capabilities. It's like, what is it like to actually iterate on it? Yeah, I think, so that's kind of a whirlwind. It's just like what I'm working on. We have an active Discord channel, agents channel, which I'm in, and building a lot of things. I'm doing like text streaming over like WebSockets with some Delta Sync stuff that should launch like maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. And yeah, hit me up afterwards if you have more detailed questions. I don't know if we have any time for questions right now. Yeah.